Hey guys, what's up? We're back with some more reactions after dark, and we are, of course, going to be watching the perfect quote unquote son she raised. Couldn't take her anymore. And that's just like, that's the end of the title there. Obviously, by Dark Asia with Megan. It's been a while, in 2 days, since we did Stephanie stuff back to back. Probably could the last video been the longest video we ever done for Rotten Mango? Because it was like almost 4 hours. The videos that we're gonna do for Rotten Mango after that are gonna be even longer. Those could be up to 6 hours. Probably not, but like 4 or 5 hours or so, give or take, probably. Probably around 5, I would assume. So, oof, that's gonna be rough. Those have to be done as streams. But yep, we're taking our typical break in between those incredibly long videos to go back to Dark Asia. This video was from like a few days ago, 2 days ago. She's already uploaded another new video, like I think a few hours ago. But of course, we have to go in line, so we are on this one for today. Of course, the Rotten Mango video that we did yesterday was the start of the Karen case, right, where her boyfriend ended up dead on someone's lawn, and everybody in the freaking town blamed her for it because everybody is in cahoots. Because the Albert family basically runs that town, right? It seems. But yeah, we'll get back to that eventually, since it's like a four-parter. Yeah, I think we're just going to get straight into it. Also, though, don't forget that we are, of course, selling this model. If you want to have your own B-Lock model, you can head over to coffee.com/cutie/shop. I think it's something like that. You just go to my coffee and then go to the shop and then buy it. Of course, don't forget the half off cutie code to get half off of that.
Everyone deals with pressure, whether it's school, work, relationships, or just life in general. We've all felt it at some point. And usually we find ways to manage it. Some talk to a friend, some go for a walk, some just try to sleep it off and hope tomorrow feels a little easier. But sometimes that pressure builds, it doesn't let up. And when someone feels trapped, when they believe there's no way out, they might make a choice that no one could ever see coming.
Yeah, I didn't comment on it, but I don't know if we're talking about like an actual child or possibly a teenager or like an actual adult. Like the adult just eventually break from trying to be perfect for his mother, question mark. Or did a child literally break? Because and did he? I'm assuming he potentially, uh, deleted his own mom, but I don't know if that is what in fact was going to happen for the, or is what happened here. Obviously, we're gonna find out, but it just seems like that's a tone here. It's like she pushed him to being perfect so much that he broke and then like deleted her.
This is a story about that kind of pressure, the kind that pushed a teenage boy to the edge and beyond.
Okay, so teenager, not a child anymore. Well,
What happened in this case?
technically still a child, but at least like a teen, not a kid.
Pressure, the kind that pushed a teenage boy to the edge and beyond. What happened in this case shocked Malaysia. A 17-year-old boy, not just accused of murder, but of killing the very people who raised and loved him. This is
People, plural. So dad too? Question mark.
the murder of Vernita Boone and Jarek Limbunkai.
So both parents. So 17, almost an adult. I don't know if like what their age is for that.
June 12, 2025, just past sunrise in Bukit Rumbay, Malaysia, when police
What do you mean this was like a month ago? Is that why we're doing this? Because it was so new that you can easily just get info on it?
received a call that would lead them to one of the most disturbing crime scenes they'd seen in years. Inside the house, two bodies, a woman and a young man presumed to be her son, were found lying in pools of blood.
Okay, so not the dad. It was he murdered the mom and brother.
Third victim, the youngest son, just 13 years old, was found alive, barely. He had
Wait, I'm so confused. So the teenager murdered mom, but then somehow got also hurt in the scrap. 13-year-old still alive? Question mark. Roll that back.
2 bodies, a woman and a young man presumed to be her son, were found lying in pools of blood. A third victim, the youngest son, just 13 years old, was found alive, barely. He had severe injuries and was struggling to breathe. Outside the house, officers found a 17-year-old boy sitting alone, dazed, quiet. He wasn't crying, just staring.
Okay, so I think we got it now. He also, this is all clearly him, right? We don't see any blood on him though, which is weird. The mob is older brother or just another brother. I don't know if he's going to be older or younger than him. Are the ones he murdered. His younger brother lived, I guess. So that's just what I was confused on how many people are here, but he had multiple brothers.
At first, police assumed he was a survivor. Maybe he had just come home and walked in on a robbery gone wrong. That's what he told them, that he had spent the night out, and when he got home, he found his mother and brother already dead.
Except that the younger one wasn't dead yet, so he didn't finish him off. So there's no way he can lie out of it.
It sounded plausible, at least at first. But things changed quickly once investigators pulled the CCTV footage from the house. What they saw turned the entire case on its head. There was no robbery. Instead, the footage showed the boy himself holding a knife and stabbing his own mother and brother again and again. The youngest brother had tried to run but didn't get far. And suddenly, the quiet boy outside wasn't a victim anymore. He was the prime suspect.
I feel like you can't say prime suspect. He is the person who did it. Like, you can't just say prime suspect when you have like literal video footage of him doing the thing. Like, he is the criminal. Like we're past suspect, right?
When the news broke, the country was stunned. How could something like this happen? What could make a teenager turn on his own family? To understand that, you need to know who the victims were. The mother, Vernita Bunchiu Yen, was 51 years old, a teacher at a local school for Chinese Malaysian children. She wasn't just good at her job, she was respected, loved, even admired by many of her students. She spent extra time with kids who needed help. She handed out small rewards to those who worked hard and improved. She believed every child had the potential to shine, and she did everything in her power to help them get there. In 2008, she even received the Excellent Service Award from the Seremban District Education Office, recognition of her dedication, her passion, and her impact. As a mother, Vernita loved all 3 of her sons, and from the outside, it looked like they loved her back just as deeply. There was Jarek, the eldest at 21, then A, the middle child, 17 years old, and finally the youngest B, only 13. By most accounts, the house was filled with warmth, laughter over meals, trips as a family, photos filled with smiles. And Vernita's husband, Lim Kiat Long, was part of that stability. He wasn't just her partner, he was her support system, always by her side. If she had a rough day at school, he was the one she'd talk to. If she brought work home, he'd sit with her while she graded papers. But that all changed on January 6, 2025.
Okay, this is like way before the incident. Also, still this year, which is crazy that she's talking about something so new.
That day, Lim passed away unexpectedly at the age of 54.
I was like, okay, like what could have happened? But like it just like randomly just died for no reason.
Like that, everything shifted. The loss was devastating. Vernita wasn't just grieving her husband. She was now left to carry the entire family on her own. No more shared responsibilities, no more shared weight. It was all on her. She had to go back to work while still mourning. And every time she looked at her students, young, full of potential, she was reminded of her own children. What would happen to their futures now that it was only her? She felt the pressure mount. It was heavy, but she buried it. She kept going. But the grief turned into something else, something darker. Guilt, fear, frustration, and eventually control. She started pushing her children harder than ever before. No more time for games, no more excuses. They had to succeed because she had no room for failure. All of it was rooted in love, but to her children, it might not have always felt that way. And yet, Jarek, the eldest, never complained. He always smiled through the pressure, always answered with a soft, "Yes, Mom." He was calm, thoughtful, the kind of son who'd do anything to make his mother proud. On Mother's Day, he made her a tribute video, a simple, loving gesture that brought her to tears. In that moment, she might have believed she wasn't alone after all, that even without her husband, her boys would always be there for her. But what she didn't see, or maybe didn't want to see, was that not all her sons cope the same way.
Okay, so Jarek, I'm assuming, isn't the one who did this. He's just the eldest? Question mark.
A, the middle child, was different. Now, middle children are often called the forgotten ones, the ones caught between the responsibilities of the oldest and the innocence of the youngest. But A was anything but forgotten. He was loved, adored even. Vernita made his favorite dishes, gave him what he asked for. But with that love came expectation, a heavy, unspoken kind of expectation.
So why are we calling him A? Is that just like a don't want to use his real name, or is his name actually A?
Where Jarek saw his mother's demands as a challenge to rise up to, a way to show love back, A saw them differently. To him,
Like, is his name actually protected? And what is it? I'm assuming by law, or is it because he is a 17-year-old? Question mark. Thus, he's a minor. Thus, we can't know what his name is.
they weren't goals, they were walls. And with each passing day, they felt higher, tighter, like there was no way out. Like her other sons, Vernita expected the best from A, not just good grades, but the best he could possibly reach. Every subject, every exam, every semester, he had to push past his own limits. There was no such thing as enough, and to Vernita, it wasn't cruelty, it was preparation. She believed high school was when a child's future took shape, and she wanted her son to have the brightest one possible. By all accounts, A wasn't a failing student. He was quiet, yes, often kept to himself, but polite. If someone said hello, he'd smile, and his grades were not bad at all. Some would even say impressive. But apparently, that wasn't enough. After school, while other kids relaxed or played games, A was told to sit down and study. Don't waste time, Vernita would say. Think of your future. And A tried. He did what he was told. He studied, he pushed, he kept going. But pressure doesn't affect everyone the same way. Not
So I feel like there's a lot of situations like this of just parents pushing their kids like this. I don't obviously it doesn't result in uh, them losing it and turning on them, but I think usually it's just they just put up with it, or just to get like I don't know. You could argue they get trauma later in life. Who knows? But I think usually these kids just end up just having to deal with it. That might just be because there's two parents instead of one. Maybe if the dad was still there and she was behaving like this to them, maybe they wouldn't have. Maybe he wouldn't have flipped or snapped. But I don't know. But I just think this is more common, or it actually is quite common. It's just again, I don't think you really hear children snapping like this.
Not every child is built to handle that weight in silence. He had his own dreams, a vision for his life that didn't quite line up with the blueprint his mother had drawn. And when he tried to explain that to her, tried to speak up about the pressure, the stress, his mental state, she didn't take it well. She scolded him harder, told him he was being weak, that he needed to focus. So A turned to someone he trusted, his older brother Jarek. But that conversation didn't go the way he hoped either. Instead of acting as a bridge, someone who could help the mother understand what A was going through, Jarek allegedly dismissed the concerns, told him to listen to mom, study harder. At that moment, A might have felt truly alone. The one person he thought might understand didn't. And then came the breaking point. It was exam season. The SPM, Malaysia's National High School exam, was right around the corner.
Okay, so did he actually take it? Is it just like the pressure of having to take it? Did he just back out of that, or did he take it, not get 100%, and then his mom got mad at him?
Vernita doubled down, harder studying, higher expectations. Break your own record, she told him over and over. The words echoed in his head, and finally, something snapped. That night, June 11th, they fought, a serious argument, the kind that leaves cracks.
Okay, so didn't even take the test, just snapped before having to take it from the pressure.
A told her how he really felt, that he had his own way of chasing his future, that he couldn't do it this way anymore. But instead of a resolution, things escalated. Allegedly, Vernita kicked A out of the house. Alone, outside, with nowhere to go, A made a decision, one that would change everything.
Okay, so she kicked him out of the house. That's probably not permanent, so I feel like he's made like a rash decision. Obviously, murdering your mother and brother is like beyond a rash decision. It's not okay. It's evil. But I feel like if your mom's going to kick you out, she's going to be asking you to come back soon, right? It's not the end of the world yet.
In his mind, the only way to end the pressure was to remove its source. It's believed that A had bought a 20-centimeter folding knife several days earlier.
Okay, so it is like a special knife, because she showed like what, a butterfly knife earlier, and I was like, is it actually a butterfly knife? Like I was expecting like a kitchen knife or something, but no, he like literally bought a butterfly knife. It seems. But yeah, just like rash his decision. Like there's no way she was not going to regret kicking him out of the house like an hour later, and then would have wanted him to come back, right? Or would have been fine if he did show up another time. Like I think he is over exaggerating what's happening, though. I mean, he's probably just like he's lost it at this point. He just can't take it anymore.
Maybe he'd thought about this before. Maybe not seriously, but now the plan was clear.
Yeah, I think if he was already thinking about it, then it makes the decision for him easier, right?
In the early morning hours of June 12, around 5 a.m., A returned home. He didn't knock. He didn't call. He crept in quietly, slipping through the door while the house was still dark. Inside, his mother was asleep on the living room couch. He stood there for a moment, watching her sleep.
I'm pretty sure she's on the couch because she's waiting for him to come home. Why would she be on the couch otherwise, other than like waiting up all night for him to come home?
The face he'd known his whole life. Peaceful, calm, nothing like how she looked when she was angry or yelling. And for just a moment, he hesitated. Maybe he could just talk to her again. Maybe this wasn't the way. But then all the memories came rushing back. The shouting, the pressure, the loneliness, the feeling of being invisible. And with that weight in his chest, A pulled out the knife from his bag. His hands were shaking. Then, with the same hands that once held hers as a child, he began stabbing again and again in the neck, chest, as if he wasn't killing his mother, but years of suffocating pressure she'd placed on him. And he didn't cry, not then. Because in his mind, this wasn't about hate, it was about escape. The sound of the attack wasn't loud enough to wake the neighbors.
Also, he's like really not thinking this through because, like, oh yeah, I'm just going to murder my mom and possibly my brother, and then I can finally live my life the way I want. Like, no, you're going to jail, possibly even getting the death sentence. So he's a minor, so maybe they don't have death sentences for minors, but you've literally ruined your life. So it was either live the way your mom wanted you to, even if it wasn't what you wanted to do, or, uh, well, live the way she wants you to until you turn 18 or become an adult, and then you can do whatever the heck you want. You don't have to listen to her anymore. Or like wasn't he like 17? You literally had a year, or depending on how their law is, a year, maybe 2, 3, 4, 5. I don't know, until you possibly could have done whatever you wanted, right? Like you didn't have that long to wait. Like because the opposite of that is okay. Either you don't live the way you want, or you don't live the way you want because you're in prison. So either way, you've lost. When you could have just waited like a year or so, and then everything would have been fine.
But inside the house, it echoed through the silence. Jarek, the eldest, heard it first. He stirred from sleep, confused, maybe half awake, and stepped out of his room to check. He didn't expect to walk into a nightmare. There in the living room, he saw his younger brother, A, covered in blood, standing over their mother's motionless body, a knife in his hand. For a second, maybe Jarek froze, tried to make sense of what he was seeing, but there wasn't time. Before he could scream, before he could even take a step back, A turned on him. Jarek tried to defend himself, but it was too late. The attack was frenzied, sharp, and desperate. A stabbed his own brother, the same brother who had always smiled and told him to just listen to Mom. He stabbed him in the chest, the back, the neck, blow after blow. Jarek eventually collapsed in the same living room where their mother had fallen just minutes before. He died, trying to protect himself, never knowing why this was happening. And then there was one more. 13-year-old B, the youngest, had also woken up, still groggy, probably thinking the sounds were just part of a bad dream.
Yeah, like I feel like the youngest hasn't even done anything. Like obviously, A, because again we don't know his name. A turned on Jarek just because he saw, but he also might have some sort of like hostility towards him because he won't listen to him, and he's on his mother's side, so it's like, oh, he's also the enemy. But we haven't heard B do anything. B's just like part of the cycle of just listening to Mom.
But when he walked into the room, it turned real, fast. His brother was holding a knife. His mother and Jarek weren't moving. A saw him. Their eyes met. And in that split second, something flickered in A. He told B to run, told him not to tell anyone. But B didn't run. Maybe he froze. Maybe he thought it was a nightmare he'd wake up from. So A came toward him, the knife still dripping. He attacked the youngest, just as he had the others. But B was small, quick. Somehow he slipped out of A's grip. He didn't make it far though, just enough to break free before collapsing. He fainted before he could escape the house. And A, he thought B was dead too. Everything went still.
Yeah, that probably was to B's, to save B's life, right? Him fainting. I don't know if it was from blood loss or just out of fear, but that clearly saved his life.
Bodies, one weapon, silence. For the first time that morning, A let himself breathe, and then reality began to creep in.
Yeah, you complete idiot. You literally are going to wind up in jail for the rest of your life.
He looked around the living room at the blood, the stillness, the horror of what he had done.
Yeah, you're not going to live the life that you wanted.
The memories hit him like a flood. Family dinners, laughter, homework, that Mother's Day video, all of it still fresh in the walls around him.
So, I've mentioned before about, like, online where one negative comment drowns out 1,000 positive ones, so you can probably apply the same thing to memories. Like, all the negative memories that he had of them kind of drowned out all the positive ones, which is what led up to this. But now that they're gone, like all of the positives are overtaking what little negatives there were to begin with, and now he's probably regretting it and understands that he just is dumb.
But it was gone. He couldn't take any of it back.
Or he has done something dumb.
So A moved fast. He wiped the knife, stuffed it back into his school bag, took off his blood-stained clothes, tossed them into the bushes outside.
Okay, so that's why he wasn't bloody beforehand. But yeah, really, he's a kid, so what does he know? To try to cover this up.
Threw on something clean. Then he walked outside and sat down, just like a boy waiting for the school bus. And when he was ready, he made a call. He didn't call the police. He called a friend and told him the house had been robbed, that his family had been attacked. By the time officers from the Batang Tika police station arrived around 6 a.m., the scene was quiet again. They found a teenage boy outside, sitting alone, eyes empty, staring at the front door, not
Yeah, how does he not know that they have CCTV on the inside or a ring camera or something?
moving, not speaking.
How did the teenage boy not know? How did A not know that they had video footage inside the house?
The officers split up.
I assume inside the house.
One team approached the boy, tried to ask questions gently. Another team went into the house. Inside, they found a young boy, still breathing, but barely, covered in blood. They called an ambulance and rushed him to the hospital. And then they entered the living room.
This actually is the house. Just looking around.
They called an ambulance and rushed him to the hospital. And then they entered the living room. There, they found the bodies of Ernita and Jarek. Both had died where they fell. The wounds were brutal. Their eyes were still open, as if they had died mid-thought, mid-fear. The officers immediately started treating the scene like a robbery gone wrong. But as they moved through the house, nothing seemed to be missing.
Yeah, that also, doesn't really corroborate his story when nothing has been taken.
No signs of forced entry, no stolen electronics, no cash taken. Outside the house, officers continued speaking to A, the boy they still believed to be the lone surviving victim. His story was calm and simple. He said he had spent the night out and had just returned that morning to pick up his youngest brother for school. That's when, according to him, he found the gruesome scene, his mother and brother lying lifeless in the living room. At first glance, it sounded believable. His voice didn't shake. He wasn't panicked, just numb. But inside the house, something wasn't adding up. There were no signs of forced entry, nothing stolen, no overturned drawers, no struggle from outside. Everything pointed away from a robbery. And
I just wanted to see something here. What is going on in the edges of this door? Is that A? Are those A's hands leaving, red on the door? Is that someone trying to escape? Because I don't think anybody was able to escape. So where's that red coming from? Right, I'm talking about like here. This almost looks like a handprint, and then this chunk here. This red on the papers or whatever the heck this is, I don't know what that is. I don't think it's blood. I don't. She shouldn't be showing blood on YouTube anyway, so I doubt it. But I just don't know. Maybe this is just stains that are already on the house. It has nothing to do with what happened.
Drawers. No struggle from outside. Everything pointed away from a robbery. And then came the CCTV footage. One camera caught him, the same teenage boy who was sitting outside wearing blood-stained clothes, a knife in his hand, calm, focused. The same
Okay, so this was from outside.
wearing blood-stained
They
clothes.
didn't see him do it. They just saw him like walk out of the house with being bloody and the knife.
A knife in his hand, calm, focused. The same footage later showed him walking outside and tossing his bloody clothes into the bushes nearby. This wasn't just a tragic case. This was premeditated murder. Officers quietly placed A into custody. Back at the station, they sat him down and started asking questions. It didn't take long before he broke. He admitted everything. He said it was the pressure, the endless scolding, the impossible expectations. What his mother called encouragement felt more like suffocation. He didn't try to blame her outright, but his words painted a clear picture, a boy who had been carrying years of emotional weight alone. And when he finally reached his limit, the only solution he saw was to make it stop completely. Investigators ran full checks on A. Toxicology reports came back clean. No drugs, no alcohol, nothing to suggest he was intoxicated or impaired.
Yeah, so like, what do you mean by tests? But I'm guessing just that, maybe even a psychological test as well to see like what kind of state of mind that he has. But it probably just like a breaking, him just snapping for like a split second and not really thinking his actions through since he is a kid. But like, this is like going really far with like not thinking your actions through just because you're a kid, right? But he did, I know he did not think about what this would, the consequences of what this was, like what doing this would happen. Because he's doing this to get his freedom back. But you are literally throwing your freedom away by doing this, which, again, like if he would have just waited, if he would have just tanked what his mom was putting him through for like another year or so, he could have just left. He probably could have just left now. Like, just run away. You don't have to do that. Like, just put some more thought. I mean, he should be like incredibly intelligent, right? Because of what his mom's making him do. So it's weird that he didn't. He made such an unintelligent choice when he should be like really, really smart. Because like he easily could have just been like, okay, let me run away, or even pretend to run away. That'll make his mom like possibly worry, and then if he ends up coming back, she'll be like, okay, never mind. We don't have to do this or anything. You could have done anything other than no murder. Literally anything else.
He was fully aware of what he was doing. When the media caught wind of the story, the country was shaken, not just by the brutality, but by the sadness of it all. This was a family that, on the outside, looked close,
Yeah, that is everybody. I mean, the dad who already passed away
loving like
as well.
any other. Soon, Vernita's old Facebook posts began resurfacing. One showed her writing lovingly about her sons. If mom and dad weren't in this world anymore, she wrote, please keep loving each other. Reading it now, it felt like a cruel twist of fate. People began to ask hard questions. How does a loving mother, an award-winning teacher, someone who spent her life lifting up students, end up being the target of her own child's fury? How does a boy, quiet, polite, seemingly obedient, choose to kill the two people who loved him most? In online forums, the discussion grew. Some sympathized with A, pointing to how in many Asian families, especially in competitive school environments, pressure is constant.
Well, that's what I was saying earlier. It is like an Asian stereotype, or not even necessarily a stereotype, but just like an Asian standards that they hold to be that this sort of like high level of study, if not perfection. Uh, though, again, that's what I was saying. Like, this is very common. So the fact that we have someone snapping over it, even though it just seems to be like every other, just a normal Tuesday for the culture, is weird. I mean, it doesn't necessarily mean it's okay. It just seems like it's the culture that everybody goes through. So for him to snap is like weird. Again, like there's so many other choices he could have made other than murder, especially as someone who should be allegedly incredibly intelligent from how much they study. I guess like like studied knowledge isn't the same as, I don't know, like being able to recite stuff that you have memorized isn't the same as like a, I don't know what like word I'm trying to use. It's not intelligence is not the word I'm looking for, but like true intelligence, I guess, is not the same as just being able to recall stuff you spent a million hours looking at.
That the weight of expectation can crush a child, especially one caught between an obedient older sibling and a still innocent younger one.
But I feel like he should have been smarter than this. So I don't know why it came down to this. Like it's so instantly too. Other than like we're saying like it's years and years and years, but like there's so many other steps that could have been taken other than this.
Others saw Vernita's side, a widow, left alone with 3 boys, still grieving her husband, and doing what she thought was best, trying to raise them into good men so they wouldn't struggle the way she did. It was a tragedy with no easy villain, just people, all of them, pushed beyond their breaking points. The police have officially classified the case as murder. With a 17-year-old's confession and supporting CCTV evidence, the investigation is, for now, considered closed in terms of identifying the perpetrator.
Yeah, of course. I mean, he did it. Though this only happened like a month ago, a little over a month. So, I mean, we're going on to too much maybe, but a month, 2 months ago. So I don't know what his sentencing is. That's why it might have been a little bit too early to talk about this case because I'm guessing she's going to say we don't know what he's been sentenced to. Also, he's a minor, so you're probably not going to get info on what his sentencing is.
The boy is currently in custody and has been charged with 2 counts of murder under Section 302 of Malaysia's Penal Code, which covers premeditated murder. So at this point, the legal process is still ongoing. Authorities have not ruled out the possibility that mental health may have played a role in the case. That consideration could affect the outcome, whether the boy will face jail time, mandatory psychological treatment, or other legal consequences. Due to his age, his name and identity remain protected under Malaysia's juvenile laws. His face has not been made public. Meanwhile, the school where Vernita had worked held a memorial the day after news of the incident broke. Colleagues and students gathered to pay their respects to a teacher many described as committed, disciplined, and deeply involved in her students' development. Though the attack is over and the suspect identified, the case itself is far from concluded. There will be court proceedings, hearings, and assessments before a final judgment is made.
That's what I was saying. I feel like it might have been a bit too early to talk about this case since we have like, okay, he did it, and he's in custody, but we have no knowledge of what happened afterwards.
In the meantime, the
Because
case
it literally hasn't happened yet.
has sparked discussion across the country, and not just about violence, but about the expectations placed on young people. Especially in high-pressure environments where academic performance and future success are emphasized heavily, many are beginning to ask whether enough is being done to support teenagers mentally and emotionally. We may never fully understand what was going through A's mind in the days and hours leading up to the murders, but this case reminds us again, sometimes the signs of distress are quiet and easily missed. At the end of the day, this was a tragedy with no winners. 2 lives were lost, a mother and son, and a family that once seemed whole was destroyed in a single morning. Cases like this remind us that behind every report and headline, there are deeper layers of personal struggle, family dynamics, and pressure that builds quietly over time. But make no mistake, no amount of pressure justifies violence.
Yeah, like I was saying, like the snap that happened just was not, obviously not something that should have happened, but it's also like he could have done so many other things. I know I keep saying that, but literally an infinite amount of things he could have done other than murder, right?
No hardship makes murder acceptable. There were other paths, other ways this could have ended. So instead of taking sides, perhaps the more important question is this: how do we recognize and address pressure before it spirals out of control? In schools, in homes, in ourselves. Let us know your thoughts in the comments, not just about the case, but about how we can create space for honest, healthy dialogue before tragedies like this happen again. That is all for today. Thanks for watching.
I hope that was that video for today. Yeah, again, I just keep repeating myself, but like, it was not the right choice. I mean, obviously not, but they could have done like literally anything else but that. Also, I think this is the newest video that Megan has uploaded. Yeah, literally 6 hours ago. It says, because I see it down there, 6 hours ago. That will probably be in a couple days, and by the time I get around to that, she'll probably have like another new video out. But yep, so don't know what we're going to be doing tomorrow. Maybe it'll be Chinaverse again, just to have like a reprieve of doing the Karen case, since that, again, the second and third video are at least 3 hours, like well over 3 hours. I don't know about the fourth video, but like I don't think I have it in me for like a 3 hour video or 3 hour stream specifically, because I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that as a video. It would be a 3 hour stream doing it live. But yeah, I think that's all I have to say for today. Of course, if you want this VTuber bottle that I'm using, you can go buy it on my Kofi. And of course, there will be new ones on that eventually as well. I just need to find the time to finish those off, of course. But yeah, guys, thanks for watching. Remember to buy my stickers or think about becoming a member or subscribe if you haven't subscribed, because we're working on watch time and subscribers. And don't forget, we'll have a throw now as well. And shout out to the members, EmmyStarr and RaleyDrew and alexgkiller 880. But yeah, guys, thanks for watching. Tune into the next episode. Like, subscribe, comment. Another do. See ya.